The NBA is back, so you know that means that playoffs are right around the corner, which means there will be some exciting playoff series. Today we'll be talking about some potential playoff series in the Eastern Conference. Don't forget to like because it makes a big difference. Subscribe to be a part of the crew before 300 and comment to start a conversation with me and play that intro. The first series we will talk about is the Toronto Raptors versus the Milwaukee Bucks. This series is a rematch to last year's Eastern Conference Finals, where the Raptors embarrassingly defeated the Bucks in 6 games after going down 2-0, though winning the next 4 games. The main reason they won is because of Kawhi Leonard, but he is not with the Raptors anymore. But Toronto has still been good without him, so there's a legitimate chance they can beat the Bucks without him. The Bucks have won 2 out of the 2 games that they have played this season, but in some of the games, Toronto had key players injured, because in the second game, Marc Gasol and Norman Powell didn't play, who are considered Toronto's 2 biggest X factors. In their first game against each other, the Bucks won 115-105, led by Giannis Antetokounmpo's 36 points. In their second game, the Bucks won again, led by Chris Middleton's 22 points. This series would be very entertaining and close. I would expect many close games in a series like this. The Raptors are one of the few teams who could possibly defeat the Bucks, who have looked unbeatable this season. I would predict the Bucks to win in 6 games, mainly because of Giannis's greatness, but then again, he has failed before. For this series to happen, Milwaukee and Toronto would have to both make it to the conference finals. Hopefully we get this rematch. The second series we will talk about is the Toronto Raptors versus the Philadelphia 76ers. This is also a rematch of the most intense back-and-forth series in last year's postseason. This whole series was decided by just a single shot. You would be a fool to not want to see a rematch of it. Although the Raptors are missing Kawhi, the 76ers don't have Jimmy Butler, who was their best perimeter scorer, so it evens it out. In the 3 games they have played this season, the Raptors have beaten the Sixers 2 out of 3 times. In their first game, the Raptors won 101-96, led by Pascal Siakam's 25 points. This game was also the worst game of Joel Embiid's career, where he scored 0 points. In the second matchup, Philadelphia won 110-104, led by Tobias Harris's 26 points. In the third matchup, the Raptors won 107-95, led by Fred VanVleet's 22 points, but I should mention that Joel Embiid did not play in this game. These teams are evenly matched up, with Toronto's insane depth and Philly's strong starting lineup. The way this series can happen is if Philadelphia and Toronto keep their same seeding and defeat their first round matchup and face in the second round. There are other scenarios, but this one is the most likely and realistic. If this series happens, I would expect Toronto to win in 7 games because Embiid and Simmons are inconsistent in the playoffs and they lack shooting and depth. Nonetheless, this would be a great series and I hope that it happens. The third series we'll talk about is the Philadelphia 76ers versus the Boston Celtics. This is a series we would want based on the fact that it's 2 good teams going against each other. On top of that, over the course of the last 2 seasons, there has been a mini rivalry between the teams. This would be a great rematch of the 2018 playoffs, where the Celtics defeated the 76ers in 5 games, embarrassingly. Even though the 2 teams are completely different, the overall feel and vibe of these teams playing is different with the intensity. Although Boston has a better record than Philly, by no means does it mean that it will be easy. In the 4 games they have played, Philadelphia has won 3 out of the 4 games. In their first game, Philadelphia won 107-93, led by Ben Simmons' 24 points. In the second matchup, Philly won 115-109, led by Joel Embiid's 38 points. In the third matchup, Philadelphia won again 109-98, led by Josh Richardson's 29 points. Joel Embiid didn't even play in that game. and Philly won. In their fourth and final matchup, Boston won 116-95, led by Jaylen Brown's 32 points. If this series happens, I would expect Philadelphia to win in 6 games because they have beaten Boston respectively 3 out of 4 times, including one of the wins coming without Joel Embiid. For this series to happen, Boston and Philadelphia would have to keep their same seeding and faced in the first round. So this series has a high chance of happening, and I hope it does. The fourth series we will talk about is the Philadelphia 76ers versus the Miami Heat. This series would obviously be anticipated because it would be Jimmy Butler's return to Philadelphia. Many reports pointed to there being problems when Jimmy was there, so a series like this would seem to have a lot of intensity and chippiness. On top of all of that, these two teams are evenly matched, having identical records. Philadelphia and Miami have played 3 games this season, and Miami has won all 3 games. The first 2 games were very close, so that is like a preview to a potential series between the two. Especially the second game, which was personally one of the most entertaining games I have watched all season. In their first game, Miami won 108-104, led by Kendrick Nunn's 26 points. In the second game, Miami won 117-116, led by Jimmy Butler's 25 points. In their third game, Miami blew out Philadelphia 137-106, led by Jimmy Butler's 38 points. The fact that 2 out of the 3 games these teams played against each other were close makes me excited for this series. For the series to happen, with Philadelphia and Miami keeping their same seeding, they would both have to make it to the conference finals. But if Philadelphia moved up to the 5th seed and Miami stayed at the 4th seed, they could very well verse in the first round. This series has a decent chance of happening, and if it did happen, I would choose Miami in 6 games because of their great defense and shooting. This series has a legitimate chance of happening, so be tuned. Anyways guys, that's it for the video. Don't forget to like to show support, subscribe to join the crew before 300 subs, and comment to start a conversation. If you like this video, check these 2 other videos out. I think you'll enjoy them. And I'm out.